Tennessee Outdoor Rendezvous that took place here in Wilson County at the Exposition Center featured exhibits by vendors, seminars, and deer scoring by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency.
This is the Tennessee Outdoor Rendezvous. We've got probably 60 plus vendors, and then we've got a lot of the TWRA crew here that's actually measuring score heads, antlers, and racks. We've probably had 40 to 50 at least already, and they're still coming in. It's probably been 4 or 5 years ago since we've had one. And since then, this expo center here at the Ward Agricultural Center has been built. And with COVID and everything sort of easing up, we decided to go ahead and have the event again. Well, I think everybody takes pride in the deer they harvest. And people can look at a rack and say, well, it's this many inches or this many inches. And I'll be perfectly honest, I've been doing this for 30 some odd years and I can't even come close just guessing. So at least this gives them some credence when they say it has this many inches. It's been scored by a professional.
Events like the Rendezvous are a great opportunity to have a rack scored, but it's not the only time you can do that.
Oh, absolutely. They can call us anytime, myself, the regional biologist, depending on which region they're in. And they can call us anytime. We'll make an appointment, either to have them bring them by the office or we can even go by their house. We have probably 7 or 8 people here that are scoring today. And some of them have just gone through the Tennessee Deer Registry training. And then there's probably half of us that have gone actually through the Boone and Crockett school. So if it's a deer that obviously looks like it may make the Boone and Crockett books, then we save those for the people that are Boone and Crockett scorers.
The TWRA scored over 60 racks during the 2-day event.
Because all the ones that they're scoring here, they're taken out into the main event center and they're hanging them up so people can see them. They can see what the scores are, and maybe if they don't have their deer scored, they can at least say, well, mine's probably comparable, and get an idea of what it would score. And that might give them some incentive to take it and get it officially scored. All of the Tennessee harvested deer will go into the Tennessee registry if they make it. For a gun, it's 140. For muzzleloader, it's 125, and archery is 115. Boone and Crockett is significantly more than that. You're looking at the 160 class deer. And we do have a category for non-resident deer, out-of-state deer. Those obviously are not going to go into the Tennessee registry, but they can go into the Boone and Crockett if they meet the criteria.
The Boone and Crockett scoring method employed by the TWRA looks for symmetry in typical racks, and it can be confusing to those unfamiliar with the method.
It's probably a high 90 percentile of people that when we finally do score their deer are disappointed at the actual score. Because as you said, you have typical and non-typical. And your typical obviously is you have one main beam, you have an equal number of points off of each beam. And so that would be considered typical. Non-typical would be you'd have your main beams with your points, but you might have drop tines. You might have some tines actually coming off other tines. And with a typical score, everything is deducted that doesn't line up on either side. So if you have a G1 point on each side, but there's an inch difference, that's a deduction. That inch is a deduction. When you're talking non-typical, all these odd points are actually added in a positive fashion, and the only difference then is the differences between the typical points on the beam. And so we've had several today that were obviously non-typical, quite a few that are obviously typical, but then you get some that, how do you go with that? It's sort of hard, so sometimes we score it both ways and see which one comes out better.
Scorers get to see a lot of different racks and unique features, but all of them will admit the quality of deer they are scoring has gotten better.
Oh, there's no doubt. We're seeing better quality deer. That's been the whole management purpose of how Tennessee Wildlife is doing, to get older age class deer. And we are seeing, when we work at deer check stations, we're seeing 2.5, 3.5 plus and older deer. And of course, it takes the age to get the racks that you're looking at. A younger deer may have all the points, but it's going to take the older deer to get the mass to the beams and to the points that helps the score considerably.